This is our inaugural Flint lecture. It's part of our Inclusive Futures program, which is Lloyd's response to the work that Dr. White and his team did. It's called the Flint Lectures because during the process of consulting with the market and understanding our history, we were able to discover the first black broker in Lloyd's market, David Flint.
The platform is needed, and I think today is the start of something that is going to continue for a long time. I think the opportunity for more people like our learning guests here to come and discuss means that there's going to be some continuation and longevity. I joined Lloyd's market in 1978 when I walked into a room the size of 2 football pitches with about 3,000 men. I think there might have been handful, maybe 4 or 5 women, none of which resembled anyone with my heritage.
I was the lead on the Underwriting Souls research project that we did here in collaboration with Lloyd's. It's great to have so many of you with us for the inaugural Flint lecture. Thank you all for joining. And I'm conscious we're all very excited to hear from our speaker, Professor David Olusoga, one of the leading thinkers on Black British history. This lecture series is named after Lloyd's first Black British broker, David Flint, and is part of the Inclusive Futures program, specifically the commitment to make Lloyd's history, part of the ongoing story we tell at Lloyd's, while encouraging accountability and transparency about the progress that Lloyd's is making.
It's my pleasure to be here and to be the inaugural Flint lecturer with David Flint here with us. I wanted to use this opportunity to talk at Lloyd's about where Britain and British institutions find themselves on their journey to acknowledge the past that Dr. White discussed at this moment in Black History Month 2024. And I wanted, towards the end of my time, to talk about some of the legacies of enslavement and the transatlantic slave trade beyond the financial legacies that we've rightly been so focused upon. So insurance was very much part of the story of the transatlantic trade. And this is not, of course, just a story of maritime insurance, the global nature of the slavery business and the West India trades, the risk not just of the loss of ships at sea, but the effects of hurricanes on the crops grown by enslaved people. The fact that all of these trades demanded a high entry bar of capital, that they demanded delayed returns, that they emphasized the time value of money, meant that insurance in all its forms and its multiple facets were parts of these complicated chains of commercial activity. A colleague of mine, I don't know if it's a quote from another historian, said that Britain's deep south was the Caribbean, and that the existence of geographic distance between Britain and where enslavement happened has allowed for a cognitive distancing, that we've almost offshored our history. And there is a mindset that if something didn't really happen in Britain, or we can imagine that the significant aspect of it took place somewhere else, that it didn't really somehow imprint itself on British history. It's almost as if there's a body of water between Britain and something Britain did, that it somehow doesn't matter. And there are those, you will know, who criticize organizations for exploring their linkages to this history. Those who say that we are at the end of a process rather than the beginning. And this reveals a profound misunderstanding about the longer-term impacts of racial ideas generated by the slave system and of the huge generational attitudinal shifts that are taking place in the 21st century. Thankfully, multiple organizations are committed to not moving on from these legacies, but instead to confront them, acknowledge them, and act in accordance with them. And in that, Lloyd's is part of a growing global movement. In the past few years, a series of institutions in Britain and the United States have followed and begun to research their links with historic slavery, the slave trade, and other forms of imperialism. So it is, as I said a moment ago, exciting to be here with you this evening at this event. And I hope if you recognize we live in a world where fake history books are being written by think tanks and culture war rhetoric and saber rattling is in the airwaves, that it will not distract you from the bigger reality, the bigger truth of this moment. A truth that, as King Charles recently said, this is a conversation whose time has come. Thank you very much.